I practically dedicated my entire life to the family business. I had a brilliant career in technology that I gave up to save the company when it was going through tough times. And as a reward for my hard work, my family decided to make my brother the sole heir. It was the greatest betrayal I have ever faced and, probably, the most disrespectful thing someone has ever done to me. I decided to leave everything behind and start something on my own. And what happened to my brother and the family business ended up being the best and greatest revenge of all time.
Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
To give some context, my great-grandfather built a small import business that was passed down through generations. My father and grandfather gave a lot of themselves to manage it, and things were going very well. When I was 24, disaster struck the family. My father suffered a terrible accident that caused significant brain damage. He was paralyzed for almost 2 years, and it was up to my brother and me to take care of the business. My brother decided he didn't want the responsibility and basically quit, but I couldn't bring myself to abandon something I knew my father loved with all his heart. My great-grandfather passed away when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I knew he would be devastated if no one in the family took responsibility. At that time, I had just started a job in technology and it was a pretty promising position, but I made the choice to leave it, and I still don't regret it. I dedicated the best years of my life to this business, working hard to ensure it succeeded and thrived. We're not a monumental success by any means, but these are easily the highest profits we've seen in decades. But all my hard work was in vain when my brother, who never contributed a single day's work to the company, inherited it. It was a shock. My father passed away last month, and we found out in his will that he left almost the entirety of the company to my brother. I was still the CEO and would receive a great salary, but my brother was made the owner, and ultimately, the decisions rested on his shoulders. I didn't expect this, and, to be honest, it was extremely disappointing, to say the least. I poured my heart and soul into the company, and my father's decision felt like a betrayal. I asked my mother if she had any idea about this, and she said my father had talked to her about it before he passed away. That was another shock for me. The reason behind it was that my brother needed to learn to take responsibility somehow, and having my guidance would be good for him. My mother tried to convince me, saying I would still be earning the same amount. But the point is, it's not about the money. I feel like all my hard work was disrespected by this decision, and I simply deserve better than that. I didn't want to babysit my brother and essentially take on all the responsibility while he inherits and becomes the chairman. After a lot of thinking, I decided to leave the company. I didn't want to work a single day with my brother, and I had enough savings to get by for a while until I figured out my next career move. I knew that with my experience and reputation, it wouldn't be particularly hard to find a good position, so I wasn't worried about that. So I left before my brother even started working. Let me tell you about my brother now. Even as a kid, he was lazy, irresponsible, and had a history of blowing money on frivolous things. He loves to splurge, but he's never even tried to put any effort into earning it. Growing up, we were fairly well off, and he embraced that lifestyle without ever thinking about a way to pay for it. To be blunt, he took the money for granted. I've already mentioned how he refused to step up when my dad got sick and needed someone to take responsibility for the company. Regardless, at first, I still had hopes that he'd try to straighten out and make good decisions now that he was the sole heir. I tried to give him some advice, but he always dismissed me and said he knew what he was doing. He was upset with me for leaving and quite rudely told me that he could handle it himself. It quickly became obvious that he didn't know what he was doing. He started spending the company's money recklessly, hiring his friends for positions they weren't qualified for, and throwing lavish parties to impress them. Meanwhile, our clients were growing increasingly dissatisfied. A few months into his role, my brother decided it was time to expand into manufacturing, which was my father's dream. But I had purposely delayed it due to many complications. I think my brother thought he was qualified enough to pull it off. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Less than 6 months after I left, the company started to crumble. The products were of such poor quality that they lost a lot of money without landing a single distributor. The company was hemorrhaging money, and my brother had no idea how to fix it. I knew all this because it was common news, but then I started receiving calls and messages from some of the employees who stayed after I left. They were begging me to come back and help save the company. At first, I was tempted to help, but then I thought about how my brother treated me and how he squandered everything I had worked so hard for. I realized he needed to learn a lesson and decided to just watch everything unfold. The best part was when my brother reached out to me. He told me the business was in trouble and that he needed my help to get things back on track. I asked if he would be willing to step down and make me the heir if I chose to come back, and he said no, offering me more money instead. I
There are
declined.
invisible scars that shape lives. Abuse steals your peace, but not your strength. Breaking the Cycle of Abuse is an interactive guide where you'll find powerful tools to identify the signs of abuse, understand the dynamics of violence, find shelter and legal and psychological support, plan a safe exit from a harmful environment, overcome trauma and rebuild your self-esteem. Start your journey of healing and transformation now for just $9.60.
Instead. I declined. It was never about the money in the first place. I left because I deserved more respect. Now the company is almost bankrupt, and my brother has been left with nothing. His friends abandoned him, and he's left alone to pick up the pieces. Most of the employees were laid off, and many others quit. It's truly a sinking ship. I can't say I'm not tempted to gloat, after all. My brother made my life hell when I worked at the company, and now he's getting his due. But I also know that bankruptcy has real consequences for the employees who worked so hard for the company. I also feel terrible that a business that had been in the family for generations has crumbled into nothing. But I don't regret leaving. I took some time for myself to figure out my next step, and I already have a plan. I want to start my own business in the future, but for now, I think I'll look for a new job leveraging my skills and experience. I'm excited to see where this journey will take me. I found a new job. It's not as great as I had hoped, but I think it's more than enough for now. It's been a lot of hard work, and I'm still adjusting to working for someone else instead of calling all the shots, but it's also been incredibly rewarding. As for my family's business, it's a sad story. There's not much left now, and as far as I know, my brother sold the company and isn't doing well financially. He had to sell his luxury cars and the house he bought. I don't know where he's living now, and I'm not in contact with my mother. I know my father left enough money for her to live comfortably for the rest of her life, and I would help her if she needed it. It's a shame what happened, but I've moved on and I'm excited about my future. I'm working on my startup. I kept my job for almost a year and managed to gather the proper resources during that time. I have a small team of dedicated employees, and we're working on some exciting projects. I've faced tough challenges, but I'm extremely satisfied with the results so far. As for my family's business, well, it's officially gone. It's a sad end to a long legacy. But sometimes things just don't work out. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned along the way and look forward to a bright future.
Want more mysteries, twists, and exciting moments? So you can't miss this video. Click now and continue this journey of fascinating stories. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Leave your comments and see you next time.